Hi, I'm Marian McPartland. My guest today is trumpeter Terence Blanchard, a consummate musician and composer. During the past 20 years, he's established himself as one of the most influential jazz figures of his generation. Hi, how are you?
Fine, how you doing?
I'm just fine. Yeah. It's good to see you.
Oh, it's good to see you too. It's great to be here.
What has been going on since I last saw you? So much is happening.
Yeah, there's been a lot of things going on. I've started teaching. I teach now at the Thelonious Monk Institute of Jazz at USC. Put out a new CD, a few CDs since the last time I saw you. And I've just been continuing my career as a film composer. But the most fun that I've been having is actually as a performer. I have a great band right now. We've been having great times on the road playing music.
Well, your band is really, I guess this is the new record, Bounce.
Yes.
And the tunes and the way you play and the whole group, I just think it's a wonderful album.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much.
And such a variety of tunes. And they're all like stars. You know,
yeah, they're very talented. I've been very lucky with these guys. The guys who made the CD, Eric Holland on drums, Brandon Owen on bass, Bryce Winston on tenor saxophone, Robert Glasper keyboards, and Lionel Lewicki on the guitar. These guys are very talented guys, and they have a very distinct idea about what they want to do, where they're going. And I just allowed them to do that, you know. And while I had them in the group, we just played nightly. We tried a lot of different things, and the record is a result of all of those things that we were doing on the road.
Well, we could talk about the band and the music, but I'm dying to hear you play something.
I'm dying to play with you too.
And we happen to have wonderful bassist with us today, Gary Mazzaroppi. So let's do a tune. What'll we do?
Let's do No Greater Love. It's a nice tune.
It's a good tune.
Yes. Okay.
How can it be bad? Boy, that was really nice.
Oh, that was great. That was great. Felt good.
I was just thinking, you were from New Orleans, aren't you?
Yes, I am.
Is that where you grew up?
Born and raised, yes. Spent all of my junior years there. I left when I was 18, though. As soon as I was able to leave, I went to college at Rutgers University. I was there for about a year and a half, and then I started playing with Art Blakey when I was 19.
Is that who you started with, Art Blakey?
Actually, while I was in college, I got a chance to play with Lionel Hampton. So, because he mainly played on the weekends, so I could go on the road with him and do some gigs, and then come back and still have time to go to class.
Boy, that was neat that you were able to do that.
I was lucky. I was lucky. Sometimes I created some problems because sometimes Sunday nights, man, I couldn't catch that bus. I would miss that last bus coming back to New Brunswick. So I'd wind up getting in like Monday morning, and for some reason on Monday, I had an 8 o'clock creative writing class.
Oh, goodness.
At 8 o'clock every morning. Every Monday.
Well, that's where you got all your ideas for later on your film writing.
Well, it's interesting how things work out in your life. I studied composition when I was a kid. I always wanted to arrange, but my thing was, doing arrangements for larger jazz ensembles. And it's kind of fascinating to me that this whole film career has kind of opened itself to me, because inadvertently I've been preparing myself for it in a way, even though I was trying to do something
You
else.
sort of subconsciously knew that was the thing you wanted to do.
Yeah, I've always had an interest in creating different colors and tones with larger ensembles. I find that fascinating. When one of my favorite records is Miles Davis' Porgy and Bess. That's
one
that's
of
an
mine
amazing
too.
record. Yeah,
But
and it's amazing how those guys created all of those different tones, with those instruments, and saw them in different ways and used them in unusual ways.
well, when you were learning the horn, you had a teacher in high school, or
Yes, George Jensen was his name. I started studying with him junior year in high school.
how did you? Did you know that the horn? Well, what came first, the piano or the horn?
It's interesting, the chicken or the egg.
Yes, yeah.
Actually, the piano came first, because my grandmother had a piano, and I would go whenever I was at her house. I was always trying to play Batman, because that was my favorite cartoon, my favorite show at the time. And I would always try to play Batman on the piano. I didn't know how to play, but I was banging out the rhythm, and they got tired of hearing all of that stuff. So my dad said, "We need to get that boy some lessons." And they started me taking piano lessons when I was 5 years old.
Wow.
And I could never miss a lesson because the teacher lived right next door. Martha Francis. And it was great. It was really great. But when I was in fourth grade in elementary school, there was a local jazz musician by the name of Alvin Alcorn. He was a trumpet player, a great trumpet player. He came to my elementary school just to give a demonstration on New Orleans traditional style, the traditional style of jazz that was played in New Orleans. And when he came in with the band, the only thing I heard, Marian, was the trumpet. That was it. It was something about the way he used vibrato, something about the way he could bend the notes. It had a very vocal quality to it. And I remember going home that day, and my dad had just rented a piano for us at our home. And I went home that day, and I said, "Dad, I want to play the trumpet." And he wasn't too happy at the time.
But he did give in and get you one.
Yes, he did. Yeah, because my father was a music lover. He studied opera and wanted to be an opera singer, but it didn't work out for him. But he was always a big fan of music. So.
But that did inspire you to with the way you voice things on the horn, the different quality and sound that you get. You were probably affected by that to a certain degree.
Oh, definitely, because my father used to sing in church every Sunday, and the church that we attended, they sang more classical forms of spiritual music. It wasn't more gospel; it was very traditional. And he would do a lot of performances with that group. Christmas concerts, certain types of events throughout the year they would perform. So I would hear these guys, and all of these guys really had great voices. They were just guys who didn't have a chance to have a career. And there was another woman by the name of Genevieve Short, and my father and her, they used to do duets all the time. And I remember hearing them when I was a kid, and I thought it was just amazing. So that vocal aspect to music has always been a part of me. You know, I just never had the talent to sing.
You're doing enough. You've got talent to do all kinds of things.
Oh, thank you.
If you sang as well, that would be that would be a bit much. Singing piano player or horn player. Well, let's go ahead and do another tune because
Sure.
I'm just eager to hear some more. What should we do?
Well, since we've been talking about the voice, why don't we do a ballad? Why don't we do I Thought About You?
That's a great tune.
I love that tune.
Okay.
Okay.
I love that tune. I never played it that slow. It's nice
Yeah.
as a ballad.
Yes, it's a nice tune. Yeah, I fell in love with it the first time I heard Miles Davis play it, and I was scared to play it for a long
really?
time. Yeah.
Miles is one of your favorites.
Oh, definitely, he's one of my heroes. I've
Who
always loved
else
this song.
is one of your heroes?
Oh man, Clark Terry, Woody Shaw, Freddie Hubbard, Dizzy Gillespie, all of them. Clifford Brown. I'm just amazed that how you have so many guys play the same instrument and develop so many different styles. That's the thing I think that fascinates me the most about all of those guys.
Well, that's the thing about jazz, is they all play maybe the same tune, and every one of them is totally different.
Yes.
Well, there's more to come with Terence Blanchard. Gary Mazzaroppi is sitting in on bass. Our program is made possible in part by a grant from the National Endowment for the Arts. I'm Marian McPartland, and this is Piano Jazz from NPR. On the web at www.pianojazz.npr.org. Well, among your many movie successes, you worked with Spike Lee, right?
Yes.
What's he like?
He's very much like a jazz musician. He's a very what's the word? Creative guy. He's an extremely well-versed guy in his craft. One of the things that amazes me about working with him is that when we start talking about scores, he'll run down the list of great scores and great composers. He's a real historian of his craft, and he's a visionary. He's really helped stretch my creative abilities a bit, because when I first started working with him, the first thing he told me, he said, "Look, I don't want traditional film music in my films." He says, "I want music that's going to have melodic content that can stand on its own away from the film and support the film at the same time." Because when we started working together, that thing had that kind of type of film scoring had gone away a bit in the business, because this is like 1989 when I started working with him. And it's interesting because you started to see, these scores come back. Because there were always great composers who could write great melodies. John Williams, James Newton Howard, Thomas Newman, the list is endless. So he's been a great person to work with, because it's also helped me with my jazz career, helped me understand how to tell a story, not just through one performance of a tune, but thinking about the entire show.
That's great that he's got that much musical knowledge.
Oh, yeah.
He doesn't just say, do your thing, man.
Well, in a sense, he does that too, because, the thing that's great about working with him is that, he's so knowledgeable and so confident in what he does. He understands that he's not a composer, and he understands that he's not a musician, while he loves music. So when we work on a film, the hardest thing for us to get through is to figure out what the melodic material is going to be for the film, because he has his thing, and sometimes when I write a theme that I think is perfect for the main character, he takes it and he uses it somewhere else, which really starts to make me rethink how I'm going to approach the whole process. So once we get that done, he says, "Okay, go do your thing, and I'll see you when it's time to go to the studio."
Do you play on the films?
Not all of them. Not all of them. The last few, well, actually, I did play on 25th Hour on one scene. For me, I try to do what's best for the film. If it means having some kind of improvised instrument, then so be it. If not, I won't play. We're working on a film now that's going to involve my band.
Good.
With an orchestra, and it's going to feature Branford Marsalis and myself. And we're going to do a couple of pieces from Sketches of Spain, and the rest of it's going to be music that I composed for the film.
Boy, that's a lot of hard work.
Yeah. It's a lot of fun, though.
And you're going out and playing gigs as well?
Yeah, yeah, I'm trying to do that as well. Trying to write on the road. I spend my days in a hotel room writing music, and then my nights in the clubs or concert hall.
Well, I've got to hear more, but meanwhile, let's play another tune.
Sure.
We've got Caravan, and I would really like to play that with you.
I'd love
it's got
to play
to
that
be
with
fun.
you too. Yes. Okay. Let's have at it.
All right, count it off.
1, 2, 1, 2, 3. But that was a lot of fun playing Caravan. I've loved that tune for a number of years, and it was great playing it with you.
You know, I always get mixed up. Duke didn't write that tune, did he?
No, and I thought the same thing for a long time as well.
Who was it?
I can't remember.
Okay, well,
I knew you were going to ask me that.
we settled that, didn't we? But it's fun to play, and you know what was nice? Playing it at that sort of leisurely tempo instead of frantic.
Yeah. You know, I was just talking to a good friend of mine last night, Tim Jackson.
Yes.
Yeah, and we were talking about how, you know, you get to a certain point in your life, you don't feel like you have to prove anything. You just want to have the experience and enjoy the experience, and that's what playing that tune was all about just a few minutes ago. Because I don't feel like I need to play fast. I mean, there are times when you want to do that, but right now that's not what I'm hearing.
I used to do that years ago. I was trying to be like all the bebop players when they went through that phase of playing everything at frantic tempo, and I really wasn't good at it. I've listened to some of my early records, and I'm thinking to myself, why was I trying to do that? the tune is much more fun.
I don't know. You sound great. I mean, you really do sound great. That was something that was never my forte. Yeah, I do it occasionally, but I really like playing beautiful melodies and having a great time. But
oh, you do?
I think, yeah, I do. But I've always enjoyed listening to you play. So
well, thank you. I'll send you the check in the morning.
Oh no. So can I hear you play a tune now?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's see.
What are you gonna play?
I might as well play one of my tunes for you, because it's funny how this tune came about. Mm-hmm. Jimmy, my husband, he was practicing in the other room, and he kept playing this same little phrase over and over again. Mm-hmm. It's funny, it's something he always did when he was practicing.
Interesting.
I'm sure you've got little things of your
little
own
thing.
that you do. And I don't know, I just got the idea I could make a tune out of it, so here's what I did.
That was a beautiful tune. That was very beautiful.
Thank you.
How did you develop the melody from that one little motif?
I don't know, it just sort of fell together.
Really? It's interesting. I even like the way the melody comes back out of the bridge, just in terms structurally where it falls. It's very nice.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm happy to get a compliment but from somebody that plays like you do.
Oh.
Actually, I would love to hear you play that.
Oh, that tune?
Yeah.
Oh, I'd love to play that. That's what I was thinking about while I was back there. I said, well,
Were you really?
maybe I can get some of the music before I leave. I have it sent to me.
I will send it to you.
Great.
I definitely will.
Great.
Well, we'll have more in a minute. My guest is Terence Blanchard, and Gary Mazzaroppi is here on bass. For more information about piano jazz guests, past and present, visit our website at www.pianojazz.npr.org. Our program is made possible in part by the Baldwin Piano Company, manufacturers of the pianos heard on Piano Jazz. I'm Marian McPartland, and this is Piano Jazz from NPR. So, of all the many things you do, Terence, what do you like best? Writing for the movies or playing a gig or what?
Playing a gig.
Really?
I love to be inspired by the guys who are in the group. I love to be inspired by the people who come to listen to the music. There's a certain kind of communal atmosphere in clubs and concerts that I'm just kind of addicted to.
Don't you find when you come out on stage, you can sort of get a vibe from the audience?
Oh, yes.
What they're going to be like?
Oh, yes. Right away, as soon as you hit the stage, you can kind of tell. And it has an effect on, how you call the tunes. Sometimes we do performances for that are being videotaped, and guys want to know, well, what are you going to play? They want to have a set list. And it's kind of hard for us because we try to feel out the mood of the audience and how the band is performing, and we definitely call the tunes according to how we feel.
It's funny, I do the same thing, although I do make a set list in case I suddenly forget what to play, and then at least I have something to look at. But I definitely do change depending on what sort of a feeling I'm getting
exactly.
from them, especially if you're playing for like a real young audience at a college. Then I do a lot of what I like to think of as hipper tunes than maybe playing some old tunes.
Yeah.
But how about playing another ballad? I would love to hear that.
I'd love to do that. I'd love to do that.
It's a tune that I'm sure you do. Goodbye. Do you play that?
I love that song. I was introduced to that song by Benny Golson.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, I was on tour with him, and we played it every night, and I just fell in love with it.
Well, I would love to hear you play it.
I'd love to play it with you, too.
Okay.
Okay, great.
Boy, that was great.
Oh, it was. I love that tune. It's pretty tune.
I'd love to hear you do that with an orchestra. Have you
That's a
ever
good
done
idea.
that?
No, not with an orchestra. That's a good idea.
Thank
you.
Have you done any things with strings?
Yes, I've done a couple of records with strings. I did one. It was a tribute to Billie Holiday with an orchestra, and Jeannie Bryson was the vocalist on it. Then I did another album. It was called Jazz and Film, which was really based around a lot of great film themes that were jazz compositions. But I'm looking forward to doing another album with strings. And you just gave me a good idea. So
No,
thank
that
you.
would be beautiful. I mean, the way you play ballads, I would love to hear a string album of just ballads.
Oh,
So
great idea. You're not the first person to tell me that. That's why I'm smiling.
I'm not the first person.
Well, no, my wife has been on me about that.
Oh, has she?
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
then I'll get on you too. So that would be really lovely because I don't know, you've got that sort of romantic quality to you.
Oh, thank you.
Playing.
Thank you.
And so your wife and I agree on that. Well, there's more coming up. My guest is Terence Blanchard. Gary Mazzaroppi is on bass. Our program is made possible in part by the Friends of Piano Jazz. I'm Marian McPartland, and this is Piano Jazz from NPR. I just remembered something. You're going to play a piece on piano. So.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, only for you.
Oh, but that's going to be really nice because you play good piano.
Oh,
And
thank you.
what I want to hear is a piece by Yvonne Lean that you did on your record. What's it called?
It's called Nocturne. It's a very, very pretty tune.
It is pretty, and he's written some great things.
You know, I think he's one of the great not American, but a great songwriter of our generation. You know, he's an amazing guy.
I wish he would get better known. Not enough people know his music.
Yeah, I know. It's pretty amazing because his not only are his tunes simply amazing, but his performance of his tunes, his vocal style is extremely unique. You know, I've often talked to him about doing another project together because we did one record together, but I really want to do another one because I had a great time, not only recording with him, but also doing a couple of performances with him as well.
Well, maybe you could have him be a guest on your string album.
Another great idea.
Oh, I'll just
I'm going to have to get you to produce this record.
Well, I don't know. I think I've leveled off now. So anyway, I'm going to just sit back and enjoy listening to you play piano.
Okay.
So, of course, it should be extra nice because we've got Gary Mazzaroppi here today.
Yeah, I need all the help I can get.
Okay. All right. Here goes.
Great. 1, 2.
That just sounded beautiful.
Oh, thank you. That's very sweet of you.
Now, I'm just wondering, when you're composing for film, do you do it from the piano?
Oh, I have to. I mean, because for me, the piano gives me the opportunity to hear and see the entire orchestra.
I don't know why you would not think you play well, because it's just great.
Oh, thanks.
And that piece is great. I don't really know that one. I would like to learn it.
It's all of his music is it has a very central, very romantic quality to it. And I've been a big fan of his music for a long time.
Do you do velas?
No, I don't do velas, but there's some others that I do. There's one called Choros Tosacos, which means crying waters, that I think that's a very beautiful tune of his. And Aparecidas, which is another one, which is a very pretty tune as well.
You've got a good repertoire. How do you learn tunes? Do you just pick them up off a record or something?
It comes in various ways. Sometimes I learn them off the records. The good thing about working with Ivan was when we did the album, he actually made 2 cassette tapes for me. One had, I think, about 20 tunes, and the other one had about 30 tunes. And I just kept them in my car, and I just listened to all of them as I was driving. And what was interesting about that, my son, who was a little kid at the time, he started singing the upcoming track before it would come on in the right key because he had heard them so much.
Well, that's great. So,
Yeah.
and that's really a good way to learn tunes when you're in the car, because you're a captive audience.
Exactly.
Exactly. You can't go anywhere. You just have to listen.
Exactly.
No, I just love to hear more, but we have to wind up. And I just want to tell you how nice it was to have you on the show.
Oh, this has been it's such a pleasure for me because I've been such a fan of yours for a long time. So thank you for having me on.
Thank you for being here.
Yeah.
Let's play some blues.
That's it.
We
Always
haven't done
sounds
that,
good.
have we?
No, we haven't done that at all. But
what blues would you like to do?
why don't we do Now's the Time?
Okay, that's a good one.
Yes.
That was great.
Thanks. Oh, that was a lot of fun.
Thanks for coming, Terence.
Thanks for having me.
You've just heard Piano Jazz with Marian McPartland and her guest from the year 2004, Terence Blanchard, with bassist Gary Mazzaroppi. Join us each week at this time for programs from the Piano Jazz Archives with host Marian McPartland and other outstanding guest artists. Piano Jazz is a production of South Carolina Public Radio. The producer is Sherry Hutchinson, recording engineer Duke Marcos, assistant recording engineer Chinook Kang. I'm David Mitchell, mastering engineer. Engineering intern is David Roberts. The production manager is David Lyon. The executive producer is Elaine Freeman. We love to hear from you. Our email address is pj@scetv.org. Our postal address is 1041 George Rogers Boulevard, Columbia, South Carolina, 29201. More information about the artists and music heard on Piano Jazz is available on our website, pianojazz.npr.org, where you can also stream recent programs online and find a link to subscribe to our free weekly preview podcast, Piano Jazz Shorts. Support for Piano Jazz comes from the Friends of Piano Jazz, NPR member stations, and NPR. Support for this episode's original production was also provided by the National Endowment for the Arts, the Verve Music Group, Borders Books and Music, and the Baldwin Piano Company. Support for NPR comes from NPR contributors, which include the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation, working with others to build a culture of health for all, on the web at rwjf.org, and the Walton Family Foundation, working to prepare all students for a lifetime of opportunity by ensuring access to high-quality K-12 choices. More information is available at waltonk12.org. This is NPR.